I just ask you to keep our chairman in your prayers, everybody. His son is in the hospital. He was in an induced coma up until yesterday, and I understand that he's out and doing better now, but not 100%.
Yes, thank you for that. All right, what you've been waiting for, other than just coming to the Johnston County Republican Women, I know that was the main thing, but we will go on with this forum. I'm going to ask a question of each of the three candidates. I'm going to start with David Ford for the first question, and then it'll go to Michelle first, Keith, then back to David, so that everybody has a chance to go first. Everybody has a chance to go last. I am going to set a timer for 2 minutes. When that timer goes off, if you need a few more seconds, you can do that, but I can't set 2.5 minutes, so, and that was the bright idea of David Ford down there, since I couldn't find my 2.5 minutes on here. All right, and I'll start the timer after I ask the question. So, David Ford, what makes you uniquely qualified for this office? And do you have what it takes to manage a large staff in the clerk's office?
Thanks, Teresa. And real quickly, let me just say thank you to the Republican Women. I don't want to take up too much of my time from answering the question, but one point that I did want to say, and not that I'm in a position to give anybody advice, somebody told me a long time ago, never take the word of the salesperson. So just remember, when we're talking to you tonight, we're trying to sell you ourselves. So, you know, to the extent you've got to make up your own mind, do your own research a little bit too. That'll help you in listening to what we say, and then doing independent research to see who you think should get your support and your vote. So here's the thing: the clerk's office is I look at it in two scenarios. It's judicial and it's administrative. I'm an attorney. I've practiced law for the past 10 years in the clerk's office for the most part, special proceedings, estates, etc. And also, over my time as an attorney, I've managed staffs for statewide law firms. I've had 20 paralegals, been responsible to see that things get to 100 counties. So large operations, I'm used to. Heavy, large amounts of money, millions of dollars in my trust account every month. I do it every day. So, you know, handling the money aspect, managing the office aspect, handling the judicial side of it, I'm accustomed to. One thing I'll say quickly, I don't know if this question will present itself again, so I want to get the opportunity to say it here. In 2005, the North Carolina State Bar and the Administrative Office of the Court, which is the governing body of the clerk's office, came out with a ruling that said, unless you are a party to an action or a licensed attorney, you cannot appear at a hearing before the clerk and represent a party in that action. That's what I've done. I've represented clients before the clerk. Also, as I understand it, several law schools around the country now, including our own Campbell University, is offering a class in practicing law before North Carolina Clerk of Court. Essentially what they're doing is they're using the AOC Clerk's Manual as their curriculum, but they're teaching our young attorneys what you need to know to practice in that office. So the attorneys that are going to come to that office are going to expect a minimum level of competence, experience, and knowledge. I have that level of competence and knowledge, experience, and also have the management experience to properly administer the office for the staff.
All right, thank you. All right, you need me to repeat the question?
That would be great.
Okay. What makes you uniquely qualified for this office? And do you have what it takes to manage a large staff in the clerk's office?
Thank you. For the last 22 years, I've served as a paralegal. I have a certification as a North Carolina State Bar certified paralegal. I work for Spence & Spence attorneys and have served 7, 8, 9, 10 different attorneys that I've gained lots of experience from. When I started, Mr. Spence was always good about teaching me not just what to do, but why we do that. What does the law say about it? Interpreting the statutes, and he has been an excellent teacher to not just tell me go do this, but this is why we do it. The clerk's office serves as the secretary to the court system. I've said that many times. As a paralegal, I've served as a secretary to Mr. Spence, but I've also been involved for many years with the clerk's office directly. The ruling that came down that said attorneys have to appear at hearings before the clerk, most attorneys have a package handed to them for different foreclosures and things like that. All those documents prepared by staff typically, at least that's the experience in my office, and a good knowledge and understanding of the documents and the laws that relate to the documents are what makes hearings and things go well in the clerk's office. I've handled estates, guardianships, foreclosures up until the law changed that only attorney staff could appear before the clerk. And most times I go with the attorney to the clerk's office, because once the order is signed, then it's my job to clock in the papers, post the papers and filings, and be sure that they get mailed out. The clerk is also responsible for managing numerous documents that needs to be in file folders to get to the courts when they're supposed to be there. So I feel like that I'm uniquely qualified because what I've done for 22 years is what the clerk does for the court system.
Just in time. So I think somebody moved in the lane next to us. Somebody want to talk a little louder? All right. Keith, you want me to repeat?
I don't need to repeat.
All right.
You know, the question, what makes you uniquely qualified, is a very good question, because, you know, you have choices in this campaign, and we all have different qualifications. What makes Keith Branch uniquely qualified to be the Johnston County Clerk of Superior Court? I'm the only candidate that has proven leadership from the standpoint as an elected county official, have been for the last 6 years. I have built a multi-million-dollar business from scratch over the last 16 years, and in addition to that, I have been on numerous boards and councils and different things across the county. In my opinion, the clerk of court's office, what people expect and what people want, they want somebody that's approachable, they want somebody that's going to help them when they need help, and they want somebody that's going to be physically accountable. And that's where I come in as far as being uniquely qualified. I worked for the North Carolina State Auditor's Office for 10 years as a fraud, waste, and abuse investigator prior to opening up my business. During that period of time, I audited every facet of state government that exists, from the community colleges to the clerk of courts to the university system. I understand going into a department as big as North Carolina State University, looking at that, any department within that university, studying internal controls, what needs to be done, what needs to be corrected, what changes can be made to make it more efficient and provide better service to the taxpayers. And that's what makes me uniquely qualified. Basically, I have experiences over my almost 30 years now of out working, and my career that basically is varied in all different areas, and just had different opportunities of learning a lot of things that would really be beneficial. That makes me uniquely qualified for this position.
Okay. We have 1 second left. All right. Can y'all hear all right in the back? Okay. Michelle, you're first this time. A little bit similar to the last question. What is it that attracts you to this job, and why do you think you're the best candidate?
If it's okay, I'm going to stand up so that
Sure,
I feel like I
please.
can,
Y'all feel like,
people can
please.
hear me. Thank you. When I considered running for clerk of court, the attraction for me is simply, it's what I've done. It's a natural progression in my career. I have lots of experience with people coming to our office. They have a problem. When people show up in my office, they're not there to visit. They're not there to buy anything we're selling other than our time to get started on a solution to a problem that they're facing. Their families are in trouble, someone's died and they need our help with estates, something's wrong with their land, and they need that straightened out. They're buying a home. If you've ever bought a home, you know how stressful that is. They want somebody who's going to coordinate everything, put it together, and send it on to the next place so that problems and issues can get handled. I'm attracted to that because I'm a problem solver. I like to look at both sides. all avenues of how we can work things out and how we can most expeditiously and cost effectively work things out. You can spend lots of time, which equals lots of money, in an attorney's office. Right now, I'm able to help the people that come to my office to pay my firm to help people. When I'm the clerk, my door will be open, and the people that come to me can get started on getting their problems worked out and solved in the clerk's office. Okay? Thank you.
All right, Keith?
Basically, to me, it's all about public service. I feel like that as individuals, we were put on this earth to help other people, and that's what I love and I enjoy doing, and that's what I excel in. I've always had a knack of working with folks and helping them, work through a problem and solve the issue to come to the best resolution for everybody involved. And I think this is a great opportunity to serve that capacity for Johnston County, and where you're going to be able to touch the lives of citizens from all over the county. And you're going to be dealing with people that pretty much all the time it is in a negative situation. And again, that's where I excel at, is helping people when they're in a negative situation and making a positive out of a negative. Again, I've proved myself as being an approachable person, and I'm somebody that people feel comfortable with. And a lot of times I feel like that our elected officials, countywide, statewide, don't come across that way. People don't feel like they're approachable. I'm proving that I'm that way, and I think it's of the utmost important that we have somebody in the clerk of court's office that the citizens of Johnston County know that they can go to, and it's going to be there to help them. And I mean, public service to me is just what I really love and enjoy doing.
Okay. You may repeat, or you good?
If you'll repeat, and I'll stand while you're talking.
All right. What is it that attracts you to this job, and why do you think you're the best candidate?
And if it's okay, why do I think I'm the best candidate? So as an attorney, as I mentioned, I have paralegals who help me, and I will say this, no way would I have a successful legal practice without competent and loyal, dedicated, trustworthy paralegals. But at the end of the day, if money comes up missing in the trust account, it's my responsibility. If something's wrong on a document, it's my responsibility. The assistant clerks in the clerk's office here have the same authority to execute documents, to sign orders, as the clerk does. So there's a little trepidation that comes with that the first time when you see someone else signing a document that you know you're responsible for. I've done that for 10 years. Had paralegals not signing my name, but doing things with my name on the line. I've built a successful legal practice as well, and it's David Ford, the Ford firm, but it's David Ford, attorney at law. I think that's what makes me unique in this position, is the understanding that there will be people doing things with ultimately me being accountable and responsible for what they do. Why am I interested in it? What drew me to it? Quite simply, there's a need. Having practiced in this office and practiced in offices across the state, it allows me to see the good and the bad from county to county. And not to make Craig blush, but I've said many times, I've seen Register of Deeds from other counties come to our Register of Deeds office to see how he does what he does because he wants to do it that way, or they want to do it his way, excuse me. That's what I aspire to. That's my vision, because I want us to be the beacon in the state for clerk's offices around the state. So.
Thank you. All right. Well, this question's after my own heart. Are you a participant of the Johnston County Republican Women? If so, how long? Are you a participant of the Johnston County Republican Party? If so, how long? And in what ways have you contributed to or benefited from your relationship with those two groups?
I thought you were going to say what ways I participated. I was going to go get my checkbook.
That was a contributor.
Yeah. I have been, as I've already stated, I've been an elected member of the Johnston County Board of Education for 6 years. About a year prior to that, I became involved in the Johnston County Republican Party. Honestly, have not been totally active in the women's group. I have some on and off. I've not, been to meetings with that as regularly as I have the Republican Party group. As far as what I feel like I've benefited from those organizations, I mean, obviously it's, working when it's time to get elected, and they work polls for you. They get out and tell people about you. The races I've been in so far hadn't really been any phone banks done for my particular races, but I know that those type of things are done. So I never underestimate the importance of the workers in the party and what they bring to a candidate. Without those workers, none of us are going to be successful in any race that we attempt to run for without their help. So that's basically what I feel like they've done, is they help us get elected. So.
Okay. David, do you need me to repeat? Are you good?
No, I'm good. And if it's okay, I'm more comfortable when I can see you, because I think that means you can see me. And Antoine, I heard you say stand up a minute ago, and I was already standing, so I appreciate that. Listen, I made the mistake one time of following a guy who was 6'6", and that was a bad idea. So here's the thing. People ask me, how did you get to Johnston County? And I love the question, because the short answer is Billy Creech. In 2004, some of you may remember, Billy ran against Bob Yethridge. I told my wife, I said, I want to be a country lawyer. I want to draft wills and help people buy real estate. I can do that anywhere in North Carolina. We knew we were going to live somewhere in North Carolina. But she got hired to work on Billy's campaign. Some of my best friends to this day came from that move that year, working on Billy's campaign. I flipped hamburgers at Fred Smith's house. And it was nice to come in and see Miss Rainer, Miss Parrish, and several folks who said, how's Heather doing, and that kind of thing, because it reminds me that that's why we're here. Not only did it get me here, got my mom and dad here, got my younger brother in Garner, got a brother in Birmingham, still working on him. But I say I'm a proud Johnston County Republican. I've done everything I can to support the party. Listen, we had one of these Reagan Day dinners, one of these Richard Petty driving experiences, and one of these live auctions where we brought in the live auctioneer. What I'm going to say is, if we do that this year, if you bid on something, don't go home and look up how much it costs, because I think I paid 3 times more than I should have for that Petty driving experience. But at any rate, we've tried to be as active as we could throughout the years. And as far as my membership, I think I've been a member of the party the whole time. The women, I've tried to be an associate member as much as I can. A couple kids come along, it makes it a little bit harder. But some of our best friends are Johnston County Republicans, and as I say, I'm proud to be a Johnston County Republican.
Michelle?
First, I will say that I too am a lifelong Republican in Johnston County. I remember when I registered to be a Republican, I was in high school, and my great aunt was here to register, and she would only register me if I was registering for the correct party. And so when I told her I thought I wanted to be a Republican, she told me, oh yeah, that's the right party. She said, now you do know that your parents aren't, right? And I'm like, we're not going to discuss that. But my great aunt was Dale Hare, and I learned lots of things from her about the Republican Party. In recent years, I served as a Republican judge in the Selma precinct, and was able to turn out and help with the election process to serve the Board of Elections through that process, and got to meet lots of great people. I've only recently gotten back involved with the Republican Party in any manner. I do think I got my dues paid to the Republican Women and got that done. But my husband and I have been busy raising 4 children, and you're right. You got little children, you might as well get ready to be busy, because a part of your life becomes their life, and I think that's what we're supposed to do. But I'm excited about my Republican affiliation, and I'm really quick to tell people when they ask me, well, what party are you with? And I think I'm doing good work bringing people over that are interested in voting Republican. So that's my excitement about what we've got going on.
Whoever the registers the most new members tonight.
I have a pad of registrations in my car.
All right. David, back to you. What is the biggest challenge of the Clerk of Court of Johnston County? And what is the most important task that you will fulfill in this position?
What is the biggest challenge? What is the most important task I will fulfill? I'm starting to feel like a Miss Universe contestant. Don't look like a Miss Universe, I know. So, I think the challenge is pretty obvious. I first thought about running for this office in 2006 when I saw a Republican get 43% of the vote, and maybe not terribly well known, I don't know, and how much support, and he and I talked about it, and he would admit as much. Look, you don't follow a legend, right? I mean, it worked out for Aaron Rodgers, it worked out for Steve Young. I'm using football here, but you go in after Brett Favre, you go in after Joe Montana, the odds are against you. So the biggest challenge is, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard, you got big shoes to fill. The only response I can come up with is, I got a lot of pair of socks. I wore hand-me-downs. I got a 4-year-old brother, or a brother 4 years older. So I'm used to having bigger shoes to fill. And to that point, I've done fairly well with Ken, I think. I don't know, but so I think that's the biggest challenge. The most important thing to do is, I think, to keep that legacy going. People said, Mr. Wills helped a lot of people over the years. Absolutely. That's why I'm excited about it. That's what I want to do. We talk about the files that will come, or the people who will come to that office. Talking about real estate transactions. I might help somebody buy a $50,000 house, 2 bedrooms and 1 bath. That house is going to mean more to that person, that first-time home buyer at the age of 65, than the $1 million house that some 40-year-old's buying, and it's an investment property for him at the beach, right? The importance is making sure that I'm treating everybody exactly the same and doing the best job that I can to help everybody that comes through that.
Michelle, you need to repeat?
No, no,
Okay.
I agree with David. I think one of the biggest challenges is going to be, we've had the same clerk for 37 years. I am 44 years old. We have had the same clerk. You can expect the same thing. I know when I prepare things and take to the clerk's office, I know what Mr. Crocker's expecting. I know what the estates division is looking for. I know how various things are to be handled. So it's going to be, the biggest challenge is going to be dealing with change in the 37 years of what we've come to expect. And I think that our clerk's office is doing a great job for a county that has grown so quickly, fees that have gone up so drastically, and just the volume of people that we're trying to get through there, and the cases. On my Facebook page, I posted the number of filings just last year, and they are phenomenal. We're growing out of the courthouse. There's not room. If you want to find files from 5 or 6 years ago, you may have to go to the annex. You may have to go down to what we call the dungeon. You've got to get help. There's lots of those kind of things that are going on, and I'm interested in how we proceed after 37 years of the same thing. I think that the people in the clerk's office that work there can give a huge amount of input, because the leadership style upon my election will change some. I want to be there working with them in the trenches. How do we get this done, and how do we serve such a large county? The most important task is going to be responsive, and to take the positives we have and make them better. And the few negative things that people want to complain about, figure out how we can get those back on track. I do not hear a lot of negative comments. And I, as an employee who has worked for 22 years, know that lots of work gets done over at that clerk's office. So I'm excited to keep doing that. And that's what's going to be the biggest challenge, is 37 years of what we've come to expect.
All right, I guess I'll stand too then. This is an interesting question, and I don't think any of us really understand what we're fixing to undertake. You've had the same individuals been in office for 30-something years. First of all, whichever one of us goes in, obviously there's going to be things that are going to change. I mean, we all know that there's things that need to change. Obviously, you don't go right in and do it immediately, but there's going to be things that need to be changed because you've had the same individual in that position for 30-something years. So what's going to happen? People are going to get frustrated with you because what do people not like? People don't like change. So the biggest challenge that whoever gets in that position is going to have is going to be dealing with the general public, dealing with the attorneys, dealing with the people in the courthouse because of the things that are going to be different, that are going to start happening over the months to come. It's not going to stay the same. Anybody in this room that thinks it's going to is kidding themselves. It's not. It's going to be a totally different leadership style. And so that's going to be the biggest challenge. The biggest task to me is going to be going in and getting things lined up the way your leadership style is, seeing what things do need to be changed or put in a different direction, and at the same time while you're doing those things, continuing to process the daily flow of work like it needs to be. That's going to be the biggest task. Because you're going to have to go in there and when you're doing things, the work that's got to be that they're doing, you know, however many hours a day that they're in there and they're working without stopping, that work's going to still have to be getting done even though you're trying to change things over here. So that's going to be the biggest task, is to try to get things, you know, going as you want them to go with your leadership style, making the changes you think needs to be made, but at the same time, keeping things afloat like they need to be. That's going to be the biggest task. The biggest challenge is going to be people are not going to like to change. Another biggest challenge is going to be is that people are going to expect whoever the clerk of court is, and whichever one of us gets elected better be ready. You better be at every function in Johnston County, because if you're not going to be successful. And it's funny, but it's the truth. If you're not going to be successful, so you better be willing to do that.
Okay, Michelle? How important is the relationship between the clerk's office and the citizens of Johnston County?
Well, it's very important. And it's important. My experience is if you've never needed the clerk's office is very important to you. You know, people, I am amazed, and I have literally talked to thousands of people since October 28th. And, you know, what I hear is, oh, you want to be Mr. Crocker, you want to do Mr. Crocker's job. Well, what does he do anyway? So, unless you've been to pay a traffic ticket, that's your experience with the clerk's office. If you've had a loved one pass away and you need to set up an estate, that's your experience with the clerk's office. If you've had a loved one to be put in jail and they're waiting to get bonded out and you need to put up a real property bond, and you've been to the attorney's office and the attorney says, well, here's your paperwork, and you go to the criminal magistrate's office to get it bonded out, that's your experience with the clerk. But the clerk, on the other hand, and the clerk's office has to be poised to handle all kinds of things. Just because it hasn't affected you or your next door neighbor or your family member doesn't mean that there's a whole other group of people out there that it's affected. That DSS, you know, the clerk's office has a lot of work to do with DSS, Department of Social Services, I'm sorry. You know, people in foreclosure situations that are coming in there, and that's a pretty big deal. People with traffic tickets, people with felony convictions or suits pending, special proceedings. If you have to fight with your siblings about who gets grandma's favorite piece of land with the pond on it where she likes to spend time, I mean, that's a big deal. So the relationship with the clerk's office is important. The person in that job is going to be making decisions that affect people's lives a lot. It affects your money. It affects your property, it affects who takes care of your loved ones, and it affects how the things that you have to leave once you leave this earth, how they're distributed to people depending on how you've taken care of your assets. So it's a very important role. Try, Kenneth.
Well, I've never been to the clerk's office, and based on that, I hope I never go. Just tell you now. All right.
I mean, basically, the relationship is sort of like what Michelle just said. When people need a clerk's office, they want to know what's there, and they want to know that they're going to get the help that they need. what people expect from a government entity is they've paid their taxes, and when they get there, they want to get the service that they feel like they're paying for. They want to be treated fairly. They want the person that's working with them to be objective. They don't want nobody to have hidden agendas, and they want to get, they've come there to get a job done. They want to get that job done to the best of their ability that they can, and the fairness that it can be to them, understanding that you can't always do what they want. Again, being on the school board for the last 6 years, I've had the experience and opportunity to deal with this type of thing just about every week. I had an example last week that I'm going to give you, and this is an example of what I've had experience doing where I've proven that I'm willing to fight for people and what makes their life easier, and again show that I'm an approachable person as an elected official, and that's what people expect, what people want. I had a family that has a disabled child. They've been going to school this year to the same school all year long. She has a special schedule, gets there a little bit later than everybody else, leaves a little bit earlier than everybody else. For whatever reason, they couldn't work out a situation with the principal where this child could be brought out by their aide that was assigned to this child every day, all day long. This one aide assigned to this one child. Well, the principal was making this parent go in and sign, physically have to get out of their car every day and go in and sign to get their child out of school, instead of let the aide bring it out to them. That to me is just an example of, you know, let's all sit down at a table together, work things out. I mean, there's got to be an easier way. You know, I went to task with this family and got this problem resolved, and it's just a matter of people want you to listen to them and help them. And with the clerk's office and dealing with the citizens, that's basically the relationship. People gonna come there because they need a service, and they expect that service to be provided the best that it can.
You need me to repeat?
Sure.
All right. How important is the relationship between the clerk's office and the citizens of Johnston County?
I'm going to refer back to my last answer. Let's talk about Will Crocker again. How important is Will Crocker to the county? If you have a problem with an estate, do you think I'm going to go see Will Crocker? If you have a problem with a speeding ticket, do you say I'm going to go see Will Crocker? If you have a problem with your taxes, what do you say? I'm going to go see Will Crocker. If you have a problem with a deed, I'm going to go see Will Crocker. Guess what? You go see Will Crocker for everything, right? That's how important that relationship is. Here's how I make sense of it. My practice is transactional for the most part, done some litigation, but essentially I'm a real estate guy. I'm in estates and transactional stuff. I get calls every day. You do traffic tickets? No, sir, I don't. But let me tell you who you can call. Do you do, complex estate planning? No, sir, I don't. But let me tell you who you can call. That's the relationship our clerk has had with this county. That's the relationship our county expects from our clerk. And that's the relationship I want to have with our county. We've got a shred event coming up April 19th out at the RE/MAX office, 4042. We'd love for you guys to bring your old tax documents. We absolutely have to show up at everything. I've been joking that, you get paid to go to the events after 5 o'clock and on weekends. You do the 8 to 5 stuff for free, right? But 100% accessibility. Debated, do I put my cell phone number on a billboard? I don't know. I don't know if I'm there yet. I'd like to, maybe. But that's what I see, the relationship between our clerk and our county, is 100% accessibility and knowledge of anything government. Anything government. Because that's where people are used to going when they have a question, and they're used to him being able to tell them where to go if it's not handled in his office. That's what I think.
All right, Keith, I think you're first this time. What would you do to ensure the clerk's office runs efficiently and is prudent with the taxpayers' money? And what changes would you make to improve the office?
Well, I mean, I don't think any of us can sit up here and say what changes we're going to make. If we do, we're not being real smart. Because until you get into an organization and you see what's going on, it's kind of a bold statement to say, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. I mean, that's not the way that you do things. I think you get into this organization, you watch it, you talk to the employees. The first thing I would do is I would interview every employee individually, find out the good, the bad, and the ugly, things that they think needs to be changed, things they think is good, things that, maybe they got ideas about, they don't have ideas about. And that's where you start. And then from there, You just, figure out, what direction that you need to go in. My background is auditing, my background is accounting. My background is internal controls. I went to the office one day and stayed there for several hours, talked to, most of the employees in there, and obviously there were some things I saw that I think could be improved. But to go out and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I don't think that's fair to those employees. And, I'm not going to do that because I just don't think it's the way you do things. I think you got to get in there and you got to study the organization and you figure out what you're going to do. As far as physically being sound in accounting, I mean, this might would happen, but I don't think it would. There's not going to be a $5 million investment on my watches for the court like Washington County, because I know what to look for, and I watch things. If I walk in your house and you got a cobweb on the ceiling, I'm going to see it. That's how detail oriented I am. And so, as far as physical accountability, it'll be different than it's ever been before, probably.
Okay, I won't be inviting keys to my house.
And I'm not joking.
I'm not either. All right, David, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
All right. What would you do to ensure the clerk's office runs efficiently and is prudent with taxpayers' money? And what changes would you make to improve the office? Lots of pledge.
So changes, and that's the old saying, the only person that likes change is a wet baby, and I understand that. I don't look at change as much as I do maybe progress. I try to have a vision, and I try to have kind of a systematic way of going through something. Early on in management, I was told to look at the what, how, and why. What are we doing? How are we doing it? Why are we doing it that way? And I think everything has to run through that filter. So if something's working, we don't fix it. And if we need to change some things to make us a little bit more efficient and effective, we do that. And I think, obviously, the 40 or so employees that are there in that office are competent and running that office, to a high level. So there's going to be things that are going to stay the same, but there will also be some changes that will need to be made. As to improvements, etc. The two things that I know, I hesitate to say this because I don't want to be the name-dropping kind of guy, but I've gotten the opportunity to become friends with clerks of court across the state. Probably have a half a dozen of them in my cell phone. So as I've gone through this journey, I've talked to a lot of other clerks. How do you do things? Why do you do things that way? Could we do that here? Some things that I know that we don't have control over, technology and budget. That's, we're governed by the AOC. Anything you want to do, you're getting the AOC's blessing. And depending on which one of my clerk friends I'm talking to, they'll tell you how much of a blessing you got to have before you can get anything. So, I recognize that there's going to be some limitations. As much as I would love to say, hey, that DOS system that we got, day one, that's gone. But it's not going to happen. And as far as budget, that's all coming from the state. How can I save taxpayers' money? Maybe by reducing the number of appeals we have to free up some space in our judicial system. So, but at any rate, just a little bit more insight into some of the things that I have done and experiences I've had.
Okay, repeat.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of sweeping change that I'm interested in for the clerk's office. I would like to see the morale in the clerk's office a little higher. I take pride in my work, and I want people around me to take pride in their work, and help the office run more efficiently. People ask me all the time, how are you going to get all these places once you're elected clerk? Well, one of the things I'm interested in doing is I'm interested in a community involvement team with the clerk's office. I think that if you build your people up from the inside and you make them proud to represent your office and to be a part of what you do, then you make your organization effective and efficient all the way around. I plan to know every job in the clerk's office. When I'm elected, if you come in, you may see me taking money at the cashier's window if that's the necessity for the moment. I think that we have to, the clerk is the clerk. But the clerk's office is a big body that has to get lots of tasks done. And I think if the clerk can't do every job, then the people that work for the clerk and in the clerk's office don't really have all the support that they need. So I propose to learn how to do every job in there when I get there. I agree with David. To say, you know, to be prudent with spending taxpayers' dollars, the clerk's not really allowed to spend taxpayer money. We have to be efficient with the funds that are invested for people in the clerk's office. Approximately $4 million a year is held in investments and managed by the clerk. Annually, $50,000 a day on average comes into the clerk's office, and that money's earmarked to go lots of other places through AOC, which is the Administrative Office of the Courts. I've worked with the state bar in looking at various embezzlement things that have happened in our county in real estate trust accounts and various firms, people that have done that. And you'll be amazed at how crafty people can be when they start taking other people's money. So, you know, that's something that I have looked at and I'm familiar with. It saddens me, but it does require oversight and checks and balances and making more than one person responsible for those funds. I'm going to go back to running the office efficiently. There's not a lot of wasted time in that clerk's office. There is such a volume of work. And I think that you know, our clerk staff right now is digging out steel from the snow days and things that they experienced. And the size of our county and the volume of work that comes through there, it's just going to take diligence and time to become more efficient. But I think we do that from the inside by building up the staff, working on staff morale, and you know, take change slowly. And again, I don't see sweeping change for the way the clerk's office runs at this time.
Back to David? All right. All right. Either y'all are going to educate us, or we're going to see what you know and don't know. We'll see. What legal matters are determined by the clerk of court?
You want me to do 2.5 minutes on that?
Yep.
All right. Foreclosure, adoption, incompetency, land partition. So break it down and yeah, administration of estates. So go through each one of them maybe a little bit more in detail. Foreclosure. It's governed under Chapter 45 of the General Statute, whereby a trustee or substitute trustee has the authority under a deed of trust to come to the office and ask the clerk, upon finding what they need to find, to sign an order to allow that trustee to take a property to sale. That's probably, one of the bigger and more complicated aspects of judicial, matters that's going through the clerk's office these days. There's been a tremendous amount of changes in foreclosure law over the last handful of years. The thing that we've got to contend with now, and not just in foreclosure matters, but in anything legal, hierarchy of law. So our North Carolina statute tells us how to handle a power of sale foreclosure under Chapter 45. There's also federal statute. That's the Constitution. So when an attorney's bringing a matter before the clerk, not only are they looking at North Carolina law, but now they've got to look at federal regulations, make sure we're compliant with those things. In this same realm of foreclosure law, everybody remembers the gay marriage amendment that passed not too terribly long ago. Well, what do? Full faith and credit says if you're married in another state and you come to North Carolina and we say you're not married, but you are over there, foreclosure law says you have to have a spouse served and signed off on a certain document. What are we doing? There's legal complexities that are being woven, and they're weaving their way through the clerk's office. And that's just foreclosure. So estate matters, adoptions, incompetencies, land partitions, the things that are handled in that office, the legal complexities are growing.
Okay, Michelle?
Well, David covered most of them. I have foreclosure, adoption, incompetencies, land partitions, estates. The things that I would add to that was that the clerk's office is able to accept guilty pleas in some traffic matters, that you can go in and pay your ticket and take care of that. Condemnations are handled through the clerk's office. If the state or a municipality wishes to condemn your property and take it, that's handled through the clerk's office. A bond is paid, they take the municipality may seize or take your land, things like that. The clerks and assistant clerks sign off on motions for extensions of time for various things. Those are the listing of legal matters. Foreclosures, adoptions, they all have statutory basis for findings that the clerk has to find. You know, listen to the people, hear what they have to say, but at the end of the day, it's, you know, are the requirements that are required to be met in certain cases, and if so, then an order gets signed and things proceed. That's a difficult thing to do. There are difficult decisions that the clerk has to make, and I've sat with Mr. Crocker before as he prepared to sign an order that deep down in his heart, I'm not really sure that's what he wanted to do, but because that's what the statute required, that's what he had to do. You know, it's a difficult thing sometimes. There are hard questions. There are even harder answers in the clerk's office for things that have to be done. You know, adoptions, you know, those are difficult sometimes. What if one set of circumstances said you should allow this adoption, another set of circumstances said you shouldn't allow this adoption? It's one of the agencies that advises the clerk whether or not an adoption go through. Those are hard decisions to be made. So legal matters are legal matters, but there's a lot of humanity that goes into making those decisions because they make a lot of difference in families and people's lives.
Okay. Keith, you can't say ditto.
I got a way of answering the question. No, say it another clip, okay? I mean, first of all, I'm not going to try to convince y'all that I'm an attorney because I'm not. I mean, you know, the clerk's office does all these things we talked about. What's the big thing she just said? Humanity. I've got 20-something years of reading and interpreting general statutes. That's what you do. You read those general statutes, you make a decision based on what those general statutes do, based on what the general statute says, by being objective when you can, and being fair. Well, let me explain one thing to you where I disagree. You can take a state budget and you can save money, and you can also steal money out of the state budget and you can waste money. And if you don't think you can, I'll sit down with you sometime and give you all the hundreds of cases that I investigated across the state of North Carolina where it happened every day of the week. Taxpayers' money gets wasted in state agencies, universities, community colleges. I can probably go to the clerk court's office right now and spend 1 week and I can probably find where money's being wasted. When I got on the school board, one of the first things I did was I got the school system to understand we needed to start bidding out the audit process. That one thing, we bid out the audit process. That one thing saved Johnston County Schools $15,000 a year over 3 years. That one thing. That's wasting money, right? This money's in the budget, but this money's being wasted if it's being spent. It don't need to be. So I disagree with that. You can surely take a budget and you can chop it down and you can save money, and also monies can be stolen. And that is the expertise I bring to this position. I'm not an attorney. I'm not trying to stand up here and make you think that I am. I'm not. It's not a requirement for the position. So, thank you.
Okay? Michelle? When money is held for a minor by the clerk, what are the rules for disbursement and are they firm?
Money is held for a minor by the clerk. Are the rules for disbursement and are they firm? Well, the way minor money typically gets into the clerk's office is, my experience is in personal injury cases and things like that, or awards where minors get money that the clerk holds, goes in there. I've had experience many times with petitioning the clerk for a disbursement of money for various things, medical bills or just things that a minor needs to live that may or may not be provided by a parental figure. And I've seen Mr. Crocker approve disbursements of minors' money, and I've seen him not approve disbursements It's not about wasting the money, but it's about money that belongs to a minor to make sure that they receive the benefit of the money when they are the injured party. It doesn't go to the parents, it doesn't get dispersed willy-nilly, it's used for the benefit of the minor. And it does require authorization by the clerk for those funds to be dispersed.
Okay.
Again, I've not worked in the clerk's office yet. I don't know the details of how that works. I know that you got to have documentation before money is received. And I'd also tell you that I've looked at the last state auditor's report, and there was a finding where it was not. And those type of things are not going to happen under my watch. That's all I got to say. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
And that's public knowledge, so I'm not saying about, I mean, if you pull the last audit report, there was a finding where money for minors was dispersed without proper receipts. So, I mean, that's the process. You don't disperse the money unless you got the receipts and documentation to disperse it. All there is to it.
David, can you add anything?
Yeah, and that's right, and I've seen that auditor's report as well, and you know, it's trust accounting 101. I think that at a bare minimum, how much are we dispersing? What are we dispersing it for? And we need documentation in the file. I mean, that's just trust accounting. As to when do you approve it, when do you disallow it? As I said earlier, I'm a transactional guy that did study a little bit of family law in law school. I seem to remember something about the best interest of the child. So the clerk's manual offers some guidance, I'm sure. And at the end of the day, I think if it's in the best interest of the child, you're going to lean towards allowing it. And if it's not in the best interest of the child, and it's maybe a frivolous expenditure of those funds, we'll think about it a little bit more, or talk about it a little bit more, however we handle it. But yeah, at bare minimum, we're going to have documentation. One thing, and I didn't mean to, start. I don't want to start a ruckus, but I can save money by turning off the light switch. But it doesn't mean that my job is to budget for the lights. That's all I'm saying. Obviously, we can save state taxpayer money, but it's state tax money that is not. You're not doing a Johnston County budget. You're not sitting down with the county commissioners and saying, all right, what's my payroll expense going to be? That's what I was trying to say. Not to say that there won't be some expenses. There's a small amount of money in the county budget for clerical and administrative things in that office, and some of that fact could probably or maybe possibly be trimmed. I don't know. That's something we look at. But the big picture salary expense and the big expenditures for that office are coming down through the ASC. All I was saying. Thank you, guys.
All right. Keith, are you first? Yes? Okay. All right. How do you determine incompetency and or if a guardian is needed? That's it.
Well, again, I'm not an attorney. And basically, I would have to review the situation, look at the general statutes, how they applied, and that's basically, in my opinion, based on what I know about it. I mean, it's going to be an objective situation where you want to make what's the best decision for that family based on the information that's provided. So, I mean, that's kind of I don't know how you can answer that question without knowing a particular situation. I mean, my wife might not be competent in some areas, but might be in other. I mean, you really can't. I mean, to me, that's really kind of. I don't know how to answer that question.
David, you're next.
And I think we could go line by line what areas of the law the clerk handles and how are we going to do that. And in a foreclosure, the clerk doesn't just get to decide, right? There has to be affidavits, there has to be testimony, there has to be evidence. Same thing in incompetence. Probably same thing. Best interest of the child is what I remember from family law, but we're going to bring DSS in if we need to. If we need to, and I'll say this, not even from my experience as an attorney. My mom was a social worker for 7 years. We've had these conversations. She used to have to go to the clerk. and testify. She would take a stand and say, you know, this child should be put in custody with these people. This person is not competent. We're going to have professionals make determinations. So what we're looking at is a statutory requirement for incompetence. These are the elements of being adjudicated incompetent. Lucid intervals, that kind of stuff that maybe as attorneys, when we're arguing and we need to know those kind of things and we're putting on that evidence, you know, that will be argued by the attorneys. But at the end of the day, the clerk's going to have a checklist, and they're going to know to appoint or have somebody brought in to do an evaluation on this person. Same idea, land partitions. We're gonna appoint commissioners, and those commissioners are going to go in and they're going to partition up land. They're going to come back to the clerk and they're going to say, we think this is how it should be partitioned. The clerk's going to look at it, he's going to look at his elements, look what they did, and said, yeah, this is fair, or no, this isn't fair, try again.
Sure.
In my experience and having watched, competency proceedings and guardianships, typically when people come into our office and there's a loved one who can no longer take care of their business or maybe even take care of their personal self, the first thing we want to know is, well, who's your doctor and what's your doctor said about incompetency for this person? Do they know, we have an incompetency test when people come in to execute a will or a power of attorney. We have a rule in our office that the attorney needs to speak with the person given the power of attorney, because we need to make sure that the person who's given somebody else power to do their business has the power to do that. Do you know who the president is? I'm amazed at people that come in and look perfectly lucid, can't tell you who the president is. You can't tell them 4 numbers in a row and they tell them back to you. There's something going on that's causing a problem. And as I've said before, I see sometimes that the clerk is the last line of defense before either neglect or abuse or, mistreatment of some of people that are incompetent and unable to take care of themselves. We always try to get a doctor to let us know one way or the other. A lot of times family members come in and because their loved one did not give a power of attorney or make it so that they could take care of business, they're there just so they can sign a check to pay the bills or to keep the lights on or to keep somebody else from taking everything that their loved one has. So, a lot of that is common sense with some professional assistance as well. Like I say, the doctors are a great start when we're dealing with incompetencies and guardians. And then, the guardians are monitored by accountings that are filed with the clerk's office, so staff of the clerk's office is also watching over to be sure that the incompetent person's assets and person are taken care of as well.
All right. Hopefully I won't butcher this. How many times have you served as a fiduciary appointed by the clerk, guardian, executor, administrator, or substitute trustee? David, is that you?
I've never served as an administrator or an executor. I've represented them and helped them through the administration of the states. But the one that it's making me laugh is how many times have I served as a substitute trustee? I don't know, thousands? I mean, a lot. And when I haven't served as a substitute trustee, I've represented the substitute trustee. Fiduciaries appointed by the court or by the clerk's office, I haven't done that. So I don't know how to expound on that a whole lot more other than to say I've served that role an awful lot. What does that mean? So you were a substitute trustee, okay? You did it a lot. What is it? In this foreclosure proceedings that we're talking about, there needs to be a neutral party, essentially to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. So I've either represented that person or I've been that person to say, here's what's going on. The bank says you're not paying your mortgage. We're going to have a hearing down at the clerk's office. They're going to bring evidence. If you have been paying it, you bring that evidence with you. We're going to get together. We're going to sit down and talk about it. That's what the substitute trustee does. So, and then depending on what the clerk orders, if he orders the sale, the trustee proceeds and finalizes the sale. So that's been a part of my practice for the last several years.
Well, I've never served as a fiduciary. fiduciary before. I'm the paralegal to the attorney. But the attorney that I've served for the last 22 years has served, I can't even begin to guess, thousands and thousands of times. You know, fiduciary may be the administrator or executor of an estate, could be the guardian. I have taken care of lots of people in our practice that are incompetent and need guardians. I've paid their monthly bills. I've gone to the pharmacy to pick up a new walker with wheels because the one at the nursing home where they're staying is broken. So I've taken care of lots of people under the auspices of the attorney that I work for, filling the fiduciary role that the clerk has appointed him to. Substitute trustees, we filed foreclosures. There was a period of time where there might be 40 or 50 foreclosures on my desk at any time, where we started from a deed of trust, and with the power of sale in the deed of trust, we proceeded to foreclose or work out to avoid foreclosure if possible. You know, personally, I've never been Michelle Ball substitute trustee or Michelle Ball administrator or Michelle Ball executor, but I have extensive experience doing that, and have served lots of our clients doing that for them. Most recently, an estate that I did had 140 heirs, and you know, that was a big job to serve in a place where we took care of all those assets for all those heirs. So very important, but not been appointed to do that yet.
If I had 140 heirs, y'all would get about $2 each.
I'm beginning to think that David wrote all these questions.
No, he didn't. I don't think David wrote any, actually.
I want to ask y'all a question. This will be point blank. Do y'all really think when somebody goes to vote April 24th starting and end May 6th that they care about answering that question? Seriously. Let me tell you what I've done. I've represented 3,000 policyholders the last 16 years. When they've had a death in their family, when they've had an accident, when they've had a bad situation dealing with their insurance, a house fire, I'm the one they've called, and I've represented them in that situation. I've fought with them in claims to make sure they're treated fairly, they get what they're expected to get and what they're supposed to get. The last 6 years, I've represented over 30,000 school kids, over 4,000 teachers and employees. And I've done it very well. Again, I'm approachable. People come to me. I have people show up in my office every day because they know I'll sit down and listen to them and I'll help them. Again, that's what the citizens of Johnston County want in the clerk of court's office. They want somebody that's going to be there when they need them, that's going to treat them fairly, that's going to sit down with them and try to understand what their needs are. That's what their expectations are. That's what they want. They want the money to be spent the way it's supposed to be spent, fairly, physically sound as possible. That's what they want. They don't care about this kind of stuff. I mean, no, I've not done any of that stuff, and nobody in Johnston County cares. I'm just telling you like it is.
Well, I'm out of questions. Anybody have a burning question? No? All right. How about I give each of you 5 minutes to just wrap up whatever you would like to say. Who had the last question first?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. So Michelle, starts with you.
Can I have just a moment to get my thoughts together?
I'll go ahead and go.
All right,
You
Pete.
want to go ahead and run? You know, I don't have anything negative to say about anybody up here, or even, you know, what I know about the Democratic nominee. I mean, I think all 4 of us are fine, upstanding citizens in Johnston County. And what I think is great about the primary is that for the first time ever, people in Johnston County have choices. I mean, it shouldn't just be a done deal. There ought to be choices for people to find out, you know, who's going to best represent them and who's going to, they think is going to be the best person in that seat. Basically, my campaign's about 3 things. Proven leadership. Again, I'll repeat some of the things I've said. I started an insurance business 16 years ago from scratch. I've built that business to a multi-million-dollar business. Customer service is my specialty. I'm one of only 300 agencies in the state of North Carolina. I'm one of only 40 that in the last year and a half has reached the marks that are expected on customer surveys in order to get bonuses based on those surveys. One of 40 out of 300 in the state of North Carolina because of my customer service. I understand how to treat people. I know what people expect. I'm good at working with folks. I don't care if you're black, white, red, purple, yellow, got one leg, 3 feet. I treat you the same. People know that I treat you the same. And that's why people feel comfortable with me. Secondly, I bring a unique background to this position because of my auditing and accounting background, and I have an accounting degree from North Carolina State University. I've had the unique opportunity to be involved in all facets of state government, and this is a state agency. I'm the only one up here that has state government employee experience. I was a state employee for 10 years. I understand the personnel laws. I already know them. I audit them and dealt with them all the time. There's so many things like that I know that we've not talked about that's really a big part of what this position is. This is an administrative position that runs the courthouse, that has some legal stuff over here on the side that you got to deal with. And yeah, I got a learning curve. I'm not trying to make you think that I don't. I would have a learning curve. But I know all that other stuff, and I know it very well. And I would be hitting the ground running. Again, to me, the big thing is customer relationship. That's what people want and expect. They want to be treated fair. And I've proven as a school board member, again, I've proven as a business owner dealing with the public every day that I do that. And that's what I believe people want and expect. And I think that's what people are going to look for. And whoever gets this position, whoever's fortunate enough to win, if you don't present that, you're not going to stay in there long. That's what people expect. Thank you.
Michelle, you ready?
Well, I disagree that the people don't want somebody who knows some legal background. When they're in trouble and it's a legal issue and their children are in jail or their parent has died or they don't know how to take care of a person because they don't have any power or authority, or their home's being foreclosed, or they can't figure out how to get their eviction filed because they don't know how to do it. There has to be some knowledge base for the legal field. You know, the citizens of Johnston County look to the clerk's office to take care of those legal aspects. That's what the job does. It's not a primarily personnel job. It's not to go in there and manage 40 people to make sure that their payroll records are right or that their forms are filled out correctly. It is a in the trenches, I have a problem and I need you to help me kind of job. That's what I've done for 20 years. Some of the problems that people come to an attorney's office with would make you shut. And they want to know how you're going to fix it and why you haven't already started on it before they got there. They want a problem solver. And it matters to them. It matters to that one person. You have got to be able to sit and reach out to a person on a one-to-one kind of level and say, I'm here to help you and I have the knowledge of how I can help you. What do we need to do to get you to the next point? You know, my husband has passed away and I don't know how to take care of myself and I don't know how to change over car titles and I don't know how to get the life insurance money and what am I going to do? And sometimes you just have to sit with that person for a little while. Or, you know, I'm in a foreclosure hearing, I got sick, I can't pay my bills. Sometimes it's difficult to say, I am so very sorry, but there are reasons why you are in foreclosure and those have to be dealt with and those are uncomfortable things to deal with. You know, there's lots of reasons why people come to that place. I wish it was as simple as I got a speeding ticket, I need to pay it off. It's not that simple. A lot of the things that come to there need help. And a lot of times when the attorneys get one side of it in their office, they're not really sure how to deal with it. There's always another side. So you've got these two attorneys and their clients coming to the clerk's office to try to work something out. To understand the concepts and things that need to be done is incredibly important. And while I will agree that an efficient office and efficient staff that doesn't waste or steal is important, I think it has to be a balanced approach. And I think our citizens of Johnston County deserve a balanced approach. You know, there needs to be compassion and caring and a willingness to take time to listen to the people in Johnston County. And I am so excited to do that. I am not excited when bad things come into my office. Sometimes I tell people, nobody ever comes to see me unless they have a problem. And then all they want to do is tell me about their problem. But that's my job. That's what I do. And that's why I'm seeking the job as clerk of court, because I want to be a problem solver. I want to help the people in Johnston County solve their problems in the most efficient way, with the most experience and the most service that I can give to them. Thank you.
David?
And I think the hardest choice right now, you've heard the three of us. We sit up here and we talk about ourselves and me and I, but it's, you know, you're the ones in the tough position, because you've got to make the choice. Voters will be responsible for seeing who our next clerk of court is going to be and trying to fill those shoes. You've heard me say I've managed big offices, but then now I say I'm you know, my name's on the door. So how did I get there? What's that about? I went to work for a firm in Raleigh, and promotion opportunities, statewide practice, good deal. Worked with them for a while. Went to work with another firm, statewide practice, good deal. It was in a great place in my life, and had a great career. But my wife and I, she was working for the state at the time. We said, look, we need time for us. We need to start a family. I said, Heather, you're not getting any younger. Of course I didn't say that. But we said, let's go into business together. And so we started our own practice in 2010 to start a family. And I like to joke that now I've got a 4-year-old law practice, a 3-year-old daughter, and a 1-year-old son. So we were successful on all three accounts. We got our practice together, and we got our family started. So really exciting times. But I say that to say this office that I'm in now, it's me, my wife, a paralegal. We have a receptionist every now and then. This is the smallest office I've ever been in. So an opportunity to build a team, to get back into an office where I can work with people. Team building is something that I'm very excited about, and those leadership opportunities. As a player coach, and the reason I say that is I wouldn't have been able to start my own practice if I didn't know how to do my own HUD, do my own title search, file my own papers. I make my own coffee in the morning. I clean up the lobby before I go home in the evening. So I have no problem and want to be in the trenches and get my hands dirty. But I also enjoy building a team as well and having people there to serve with me and to serve you, to serve the people of the county. I recognize the importance of this role, of this office to the county, and I recognized and understood the need for maybe some updates, some change. It was time, and from my experience in the office, I believe that the legal experience is extremely important as we move forward with increasing regulations. So that's why I'm running. I'm running because I believe my management experience, my legal knowledge, my legal experience, and my experience managing my own firm and firms for others makes me uniquely qualified for this position. It would be an honor to serve the people of Johnston County. I understand it's a very big task, but I get excited about the challenge, so. Would appreciate your support in the vote May 6th. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm glad I wasn't up here answering the questions. So how about I give each of these a big round of applause? Well, like David said, the tough choice now